All right. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another day of SaberSim's DFS office hours. Today is Tuesday, December 10th of 2024. And looking ahead here, we have a two-game NBA. I was almost about to say playoff slate, but it is the quarterfinals of the cup play. So semi-playoff slate. It should have those vibes. It's definitely giving me those vibes today. And then we have an 11-game NHL slate as well. So it should be a fun day of DFS. Those of you who are new here, welcome. My name is Andrew, one of the coaches over here at SaberSim. This is a show where we go over how to use the SaberSim app, answer any and all DFS-related questions. Get your questions in one of three ways here. First off, send us an email, support@sabersim.com. Second, post it live in the YouTube chat. Third way, post it in the office hours channel in our Discord server. If you're not in our Discord and want to get access to that channel, there is a link in the description of this video. You also get access to our similar channels, individual sport channels, and you get access to the rest of the SaberSim teams. Can't say enough good things about the Discord. But with that said, we do this show Monday through Friday, 4 p.m. Eastern. We do this show on Saturdays at 12:30 p.m. Eastern. So tune in any one of those days. Get your questions answered. All right. Plenty of questions to get us started today, even on a slower NBA day. So let me get SaberSim up, and then let me get some of these questions in the queue, and we will go from there. Looks like first question came in from Sean. I also saw this one in the Discord as well. Let's see. Got some duplication questions, NHL questions. Some rules and groups. And then some cup play questions. All right. Should be a good one. Let's get SaberSim up. And let's get this first question up. Almost there. All right. All right. NBA two-game slate. Going to use this for our demos today. First question. I really like the Mastering the Art of NFL DFS video. Do the same rules and filters of geometric mean, metrics, etc. also work for NBA and NBA full roster? Am I wasting my time using the same? Okay, so for me, it doesn't matter whether it is showdown versus classic or full roster, right? For me, it's always going to depend how many games there are on the slate. So typically, the less games on the slate, the more impactful duplication is. The player pool is smaller. The number of viable combinations of lineups is lower. And there's just more of a chance of landing on a lineup that somebody else also landed on. The more games on the slate, the bigger the slate gets, the less likely this is to happen, right? So one thing I'll always suggest is, you can always go back and find a slate of similar size and then go into contest flashback and see like, hey, is duplication important in this slate? So if I was playing for tonight, 2-game NBA slate, I would probably go and look at like one of the after hour slates, right? Or like the night slates that DraftKings run. Those are typically 2 games, 3 games, and then go and pull up a similar contest to what you're playing, like say $1.20 max, right? Like that contest is everywhere. Go pull up the $1.20 max for the 2-game night slate and see like, hey, how often are players duplicating in this contest? And you're like, okay, hey, it's actually a lot. Now I know I should also account for duplication on the slate I'm playing tonight, right? And you can do that across the board. I don't have like great guidelines as to like where the thresholds are to like where you need to account for it, where you don't. But doing some of that research, right? Like, okay, hey, what about like a 4-game slate? Are we at that? Is that at the threshold? What does a 6-game slate look like? A 10-game, right? And you can kind of get some like rules of thumb for yourself by doing that. So the answer is all of those things can be good if duplication is a factor on the size slate that you are playing. So it's important to get a sense of, what type of slates those filters and rules are good for. and which slates they're not, right? But if duplication is not important, then I would not be using geomean, etc. A lot of those things talked about in the video. All right, good question there. Next one. To reduce dupes, especially in showdown contests, I typically use average geomean to filter lineups. When I do this, I ensure my ROI is positive for all lineups. However, I'm wondering if this makes sense given the sim ROI almost always goes down when reducing geomean. Wouldn't I just want to maximize ROI? Or is there a time when it could make sense to do this? Okay, good question. So for me, right, the way I think about this is, our field lineups have about 20 or have exactly 20,000 lineups in them, right? Let's say you're playing like the $3.20 max, 160,000 entries, right? We are simulating that contest as if it has 20,000 entries. Okay. So that's the first thing, right? The second thing is that we do believe that the duplication rate scales linearly. So if like you're getting 5 dupes at 20K, then we can expect, multiply that by 8, you get like 40 dupes or something like that. I think it is still okay to filter out based on geomean, even if your pre-contest sim ROI goes down as a result. And you could probably test this, right? You could do something where you're like, hey, one contest, maybe it's like the dime time. I'm going to build with just ROI and no geomean. And then I'm going to do the quarter jukebox with my geomean filter. And then after the slate is over the next day, I'm going to come back and then I'm going to compare my ROIs in the post contest sim for both of these contests and say like, hey, how did I do in one versus the other? Right. And then that could give you a sense of like what the right answer to your question is, because now you've like done this experiment based on, trying to figure out the answer to the question that you posed. So, I think that's the right approach, right? You have a question and then you basically test it and then you figure out, which one of those two worked better. But in my experience, using geomean is ultimately beneficial for your post-contest sim results. All right, next question. Andrew, what is your take on late swapping in NHL? Is it similar to baseball where if you don't have any late scratch news, you can just leave it alone? Or can you get a real decent edge by swapping into better lineups? Thanks. Okay, so part of this comes down to which sports we do have live sims for. So just to be clear, we have live sims for MLB, we have live sims for NBA, and we have live sims for NFL. What that means is that as the games are playing, we are taking in the amount of points that a player or team has scored, and then we are re-simulating the rest of the game from that point on. So for MLB, what this could look like is, hey, Vlad Jr. hit a home run in the first inning, and he was projected for 12 points. Well, a home run is, a solo home run is 14 points. Obviously, he's already beat his projection, and he still has 3 or 4 more at-bats. We should update his projection to say, hey, we're now projecting him for 16 points, for 18 points, for 20, whatever it ends up being, right? That is where the regular late swapping to take advantage of the live data is beneficial. In a sport like NHL, we do not have live sims, just to be clear. So that aspect is less impactful, right? So for NHL, what I would be doing is paying attention to any late scratches, paying attention to any line changes that could be important, right? Even if players don't get ruled out, if players get shifted around, one skater is on line 1 instead of line 2 or something like that, that could be impactful for correlations and could be worth late swapping. So, we don't have like a great place to like see that. NHL reporting isn't the best. I would honestly say that, there are a lot of sharp NHL players in the Discord and they're paying attention, right? They have, money on the line and they're paying attention. And usually people are talking about it like, hey, so-and-so moved from power play 1 to power play 2. You would see a sim run, but you wouldn't really understand like kind of why it run. There's usually some conversation going on around that. So typically line changes, late scratches are the biggest reasons to late swap in NHL at the moment. All right. Good stuff there. Next question. Is there a certain way to exclude certain quarterbacks from being in certain stack types? Example, excluding Herbert and Cousins from naked quarterback stacks. I noticed they sometimes sneak in, even though I know the chance of certain quarterbacks in this type of stack with no wide receiver or running back, etc., have a low percentage chance of topping the field. You could definitely do this, right? There's a couple different ways to do it. The easiest way, in my opinion, and we'll go back to the main slate from Sunday. How can we do this? All right, let's go to rules. Let's go to add new rule. So if we're trying to be quarterback specific, right, a stacking rule is not going to work. Stack is going to apply to all of your quarterbacks. So we need to use a group rule, and we're going to use an auto rule. We're going to say if at least one, we're going to group by team, quarterback, then use at least one on the same team. Here I'm going to leave running back, wide receiver, tight end selected. You can decide what positions you want. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to click this drop down arrow next to save, and then I'm going to save it as a manual rule. This is going to save 20 rules. So what this is doing is saving an individual rule for each team on the slate. So now what I'm doing, once the rules save, I can click this arrow, and then it will show me the rule for every team. So what I can effectively do is turn this off or on for the teams that I want or don't want. So what this would look like based on the example given here, I would unselect all of these, and then I would only leave Atlanta and Chargers selected. And I don't think Chargers were on the main slate. So they were on the FanDuel main slate, but not DK. So it effectively looked like this. So I have the rule, and then it says the only one that's on is the Atlanta one. So if I could click the pencil and see this, if at least one in the box it's Kirk Cousins, then use at least one on the same team, and it's all the running backs, wide receivers, tight ends. So saving as a manual rule gives you the ability to be team specific. Okay. You could do this for as many teams as you want or don't want, however you want to do it. But that's the way I would go about it. Rashid said, wow, didn't know how to do this. So I'm glad you were able to catch that. All right, cool. Good stuff. Good stuff. All right, next question. Can you go through your NHL process, have not played, watched Jordan's video, and am interested in starting? Okay, good question here. So full disclosure, I'm not an avid NHL player. I probably play about twice a year, I'd say. I played on what day? I think I played opening night. And then there was one other contest I played. I think it was when the NBA took the night off for election night and only NHL was on. I played some that night as well. So don't want to act like I'm like an NHL shark or anything like that. But what I do want to point out is we did a build review yesterday on our build review show. We did an NHL review. I thought the process shown there was really, really good, and it had really good post-contest sim results. If you are new, if you're trying to look for ideas, I would check out that review, right? It's in this video here. I'll drop it in the YouTube chat. And if somebody asked me like, hey, Andrew, you have to play NHL tonight, I would probably be going and trying to do something similar to what this user was doing. I thought they were doing an awesome job. So check out the NHL build review on the December 9th, 2024 build review show. It was the first review that we did, and I thought that user was doing a lot of the right things. So shout out to them. All right, next question. Any hints for playing the NBA Cup 2 game tonight? Any thoughts on your build setup? Yeah, for sure. Good question. So definitely going to be accounting for duplication on this slate, right? So basically what I want to do, we can just do like a build demo here. Let's go to Tuesday, NBA, main slate. So I'm just going to build 2,000 lineups. Not doing too much up front. You know, the player pool is small. See, like I'm pretty okay just like getting rid of everyone like below like 4 points here. Like it seems fine. Because these guys probably might not even play. If they're projected for 5 minutes or less, pretty high risk plays, right? So all these other players like 15-ish minutes or 10 plus fantasy points. This seems like a good threshold here. So that's probably the only thing I'm doing up front. Going to kick this off. She said I was manually doing this for NHL. Well, hey, now you should have some time savings, so that should help out a bunch. All right. Really quickly, because I think this question goes with this build demo here. Cheston said running a few builds for NBA, getting a lot of 4-2, 4-2-2, 4-3-2 stacks. Seems like a lot of players on the same team. Any thoughts? I think this is like super normal on a 4-game slate. There's only 8 players in a lineup, and I think that it is very easy to land on stacks. I mean, even if you said no more than 2 per team, like 2-2-2-2 is like a lineup in and of itself. So I think 4 stacks are super viable tonight. If that's what you're asking me, I would not be afraid of playing a 4 stack on a night like tonight, given that there's only 2 games. But what you could do, right? Go look at like past 2-game slates. Go look at some of the smaller express turbos nights and see, how many 4 stacks top players are playing, and that should help you to determine if they're viable. But to me, they're viable. I'm totally for it. All right. So, what were we doing here? Okay, we were talking about this question. Any hints for the NBA Cup 2-game tonight? Okay. So we built some lineups here, right? I'm going to set up a contest sim. Let's say I am playing the 50-cent mini max. Why not? I'm going to click run contest sim. And while this is going, I'm going to move some columns around. Probably don't need that. Shrink that. Sort by exposure. Okay, so this seems good. On a 2-game slate, right? I probably want to be accounting for duplication. If you have custom metrics, use a geomean one, right? So go and create a custom metric. I rename it geomean so I know what it is. Set it to my own geomean value here. So it's calculating the geometric mean of every lineup that I have. You could also do this as a rule and say something like rule type aggregate, my own geometric mean, no more than. So the higher the geomean, the more likely it is to be duplicated. The lower the geomean, the less likely it is to be duplicated. Now, how do you figure out the number, right? So the easiest way to do that is to pick any contest that you're playing, right? Go and look at how many entries that it has. Maybe it has 15,000. So maybe I don't want to play lineups do more than 5 times. So what I would do is go 5 divided by 15,000, which would be the number of dupes I'm shooting for. Lineups dupe no more than 5 times, divided by the number of entries in the contest, 15,000. Take that to the power of 1 divided by the number of players in the lineup, right? This is a DraftKings NBA contest. There are 8 players in a DraftKings NBA lineup. Click equals. Now I get a number, right? 36.75. I'm going to round this to 36.8. So then I go to my lineup filters, or I would have put that in my rule, right? Show lineups with geomean no more than 36.8. Or what I can do, go to my filters now, and then go and set one up that says show lineups with geomean less than 36.8. And then I click save, right? Now it's going to move some amount of lineups to the trash. Here, it moved about 20 lineups, right? So, hey, at least I know that I'm not playing any of those super, super chalky lineups, and that the duplication rate of my lineups that I still have is going to be lower, right? That's one way you can do it. If you don't want to do math, what I recommend is just adjusting this number till you put about 10% of your lineups in the trash. So instead of doing the math, I would just sit here and just manually update the number and watch how many lineups are going in the trash. So right now it's about 5%. Let's try one more down. This is really close to 10%, right? 186 lineups out of 2,000, because 200 would be 10%. So this would be perfect, right? Just leave it at that mark. and you're about ready to rock and roll, I'm going to set up some aggregate metrics. Got my average projection, got my average ROI. Okay, good stuff there. So now I'm about ready to start making some adjustments. This would be a good time to put in any min or max exposures that you have. I'm going to start just with min uniques because that's what I like to use. So then, yeah, I'm watching how my projection and ROI metrics change as I increase the min uniques further, and basically taking note and just saying, hey, at what point am I trading too much ROI for diversification of my lineups, right? And 5 seems like a little high. 4, going from 4 to 5, we dropped about 50% ROI, and we dropped about 6 points projection. So 4 seems like the right number to me. And then I would go to 4, right, and make sure I'm okay with everything that I'm seeing. Highest exposed player, Luka. A lot of these other leverages are like pretty small, a lot of single digit leverage, couple stands, nothing too crazy. And I'd be happy with this, right? So this is exactly what I'd be doing tonight when I go to build my lineups. All right. Good stuff. Good stuff. Popping back over to the Discord. No more questions there. And I think we are all caught up with the questions that came in here live in the YouTube chat, knocked out our build demo. So hope this helped. Hope that you guys got something useful out of this. And I hope that you guys have some luck. We'd love to see some winning screenshots in the Discord tonight. But appreciate everybody tuning in. I will be back tomorrow, 4 p.m. Eastern, for our next show. So until then, everybody, take care. Good luck. Thanks. Bye.